Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are looking at Soda Shoppe by Cirque Colors. It is a sea green jelly base with a magnetic holo pigment. This is part of the bubbly set of magnetic holo jellies. One of my lovely commenters mentioned that another brand had discontinued using the magnetic holo pigment because it was fading over time. I wanted to see if my older Cirque polish had lost any of its holo properties. Before we get into our experiment, I would like to say thank you to all of my lovely commenters. I really enjoy getting to talk about my weird polish obsession with equally obsessed people. It's a lot more fun than I ever could have hoped for, and it does help that everyone is positive and fun. Our parameters for science are a bit limited. I bought Soda Shoppe when it was released in June of 2022, so this particular bottle is just over 2 years old. If it was going to fade, I feel like it has had plenty of time for that to occur. My polishes are stored in a dark environment in a helmer, and they are generally kept at a stable temperature. However, where we are limited is that I have no evidence of what this polish looked like 2 years ago, so we can only note changes from this point forward. But as a baseline, the question I'm asking today is, does it still look kind of hollow? And if so, how hollow? The other thing I need to note here is that I never alter the color balance of my videos, mostly because I haven't needed to do so, but also because I do worry about veracity. If my footage looks skewed, I always try to note that in the voiceover. It has only happened once or twice to my memory, which I understand could be faulty. Okay, on to the polish itself. Like a lot of Cirques, this one is a little on the thin side. Make sure you don't have too much on your brush or it will get everywhere. And in my opinion, it is worth switching to the paddle brush for Cirque. There is something about their formula that I find hard to get even with the skinny brush. I much prefer applying them with the paddle brush. After that second coat, you can see the holo just a little bit here in the LEDs. It's not obvious, but little hints of rainbow are present. Mainly, I'm seeing red and sometimes the blue portion. Also, in my opinion, all of the bubbly polishes that I own need to be applied in 3 coats. The base color just isn't saturated enough into for my liking. I've never tried layering these. I'm not sure how they would perform. The first 2 I bought were this green and the blue tinted charcoal. When the yellow and orange went on sale, I decided to grab those as well. The third coat is giving me enough opacity that I feel like I can enjoy that soothing grass green. And I'd also like to note, I don't know if it's that we now have enough magnetic pigment that you can see the rainbow, or that the base is now opaque enough that it has something to show up against. Either way, I think you can see the rainbow more distinctly in 3. Like any sort of holo, this holo always looks best in the sun. So that's where I expect our best viewing. One thing I remember about Black Swan, the black version of this formula from Cirque, is that the holo stood out best against that polish background of all the various colors offered. And here we are in the sun. I'm not noticing any differences, but I will reiterate that I don't have a point of comparison that is any more objective than my memory. Now that I have this footage, it can act as a data point, but perhaps I'll have to keep comparing this polish to itself over time. The sunshot isn't as bright as I would have liked. I was dealing with those threadbare clouds that trail across large parts of the sky, but I picked the footage with the least amount of cloud interruption. I think you can pretty easily see the rainbow flare. The green does fade into the background a bit. When I try to see the individual bands of orange and red, I really can't. They sort of melt into each other too much. The yellow, the blue, and the purple stand out well, though. In the shade, the base color looks a little darker, but where the magnetic pigment runs across the nail, I find it looks a little lighter. I think it is the slightly silver flare of the magnetic line when the rainbow isn't visible. I can still just barely see the rainbow, but the polish isn't at its most fabulous in the shade. This is where you just get to enjoy the base color a bit more. I could not begin to tell you why my Cirque doesn't seem to have faded, or why the maker of cracked polish did notice fading. But I am happy that the maker isn't continuing to use the pigment that is not trustworthy. I don't think any of us like that sort of unpleasant surprise after buying a polish. And if you're like me, you tend to learn about controversy way too late for it to matter. So having scrupulousness is good for both the maker and for me. Indoors, you can see how the magnetic line can look more minty when my hand moves toward the window to the left. The rainbow is still there, but very muted. Then when I swing back around to the right, the rainbow is mostly gone. I just see a few remnants of color on my pinky. Why the pinky? I have no idea. She's just always got to be different. So I think I'll end with, I don't think anything has changed, but my evidence is scanty. And that is all for today. Thank you for watching part 1 of We Continually Wait for My Polishes to Degrade. Please enjoy a clip of my brand new baby red squirrel who is just so goddamn adorable.